Hello and welcome to the Virtual Cafe. I'm your host, Segilola Salami. Who do I have here today?
I'm Felicia Denise, author of In the Best Interest of the Child.
Oh, hello, Felicia. How are you today?
I am here.
Okay, that doesn't sound too good.
That's about as good as we're going to get today. It's been a busy week.
Well, hopefully the weekend will be better than the week.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, yes. So normally I would say, what would you like to have? But the little human, she's got a fever, so she's just getting cuddles at the moment. So all I can offer you is just water. I haven't had the time to cook or bake or do nothing, so you don't even get any snacks as well. So actually, we do have Smarties. We do have
I
chocolate.
am I am over
Oh,
it,
but
okay? I am over it.
okay, that's fine. So I'll give you a nice glass of, store-bought supermarket bottled water.
All right.
Um, and you can have a little tub of Smarties to go with it as well.
Works for me today.
Cool, cool, cool. So tell us about, I'm looking I always look forward to having you come on the show, these last few weeks because it's been quite interesting, discussing, your book and, getting insight into what's going to hopefully happen in the second book. And I know that you were talking to us, the last time about how Olivia is going to be going through the different stages of grief. And then before you came, everybody seems to know what depression is. You feel sad. And I just went on Google and I just typed in define depression, right? And I think it
Hmm.
was from the top one, where they put their nice big box. And it was from the
Yes.
Mayo Clinic. And according to them, it says depression. Now, first one, feelings of severe despondency and dejection. I can't even speak properly today. I'm so tired. Like the little human, because she's had a fever. I've been up all night, checking temperature, and a couple of times I'd had to wake her up in the middle of the night, to just give her some paracetamol to try and get her temperature down. So it's like I'm just exhausted. So excuse me if I'm not even speaking properly. Um, yeah, so saying feelings of severe despondency and you know what I'm trying to say.
Despondency. Yes.
Dejection.
Yes.
It says self-doubt creeps in and that swiftly turns to depression. But I think also in the Mayo Clinic, then in the main uh, previews, it says depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest, also called major depressive disorder and clinical depression. It affects how you feel, think, behave, and can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. So, when you were researching, your book, what did you find out about depression? Tell us something new that we possibly don't know about depression.
Well, I am not an expert, and I'm definitely not the Mayo Clinic. But the
Of course.
things that I was looking into, that definition is so wide because it's saying that to me, when I think of their definition, when I look at someone or talk with someone under their definition who's depressed, I'll know they're depressed.
Hmm.
And that's not the case, especially with children.
Hmm.
And in speaking with foster parents and adoptive parents and caregivers, there were children who were going through depression even into their mid and late teens, and no one had picked up on it.
Oh, wow.
And these were caring, attentive people. These weren't just people, raising kids, letting them go on and do whatever. These people were keyed in to these kids, and they still didn't pick up on the depression. So now I'm a little off center with the Mayo Clinic's definition of it
Hmm.
and what I've seen and been told others have experienced with it. I don't think you can always have a conversation with someone and pick up on it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But they're saying it's feelings of despondency and dejection, sadness, and this person may feel these things inside. But how would you, as someone approaching this person, pick up on it by their definition so easily.
Yes, because for me, when I was reading that, and sometimes when I think about depression, like, how do you differentiate? You know what? I've had a really, really, insert any type of adjective you want to insert, that little children should not be hearing. And you've had that kind of day and you're like, oh my God, you know what? Or maybe say you were walking down the street and you dropped your wallet and you misplaced it and you're feeling sad because you're like, oh my God, that's the last money that I've got to use to buy money for my kid, buy food for my kids, and you've got no money and you're feeling sad. So how do you differentiate depression and just regular feeling of sadness as part of everyday life?
See, and I think that it's the time factor. How long are you feeling this way? Because
Ah.
in book one, when we're introduced to the problem with Olivia's mother, her situation, her disorder is called complicated grief disorder.
Mm.
And it is a real illness where the definition was experiencing the grief and the sadness over six
Mm.
months.
Right.
And it also complicated the health. And I mean, she had internal bleeding from the accident, and she wasn't healing. It exacerbated the problems. And so I think it's the time factor. We all have bad days. We all have bad weeks.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean we're depressed. But in the clinical terms for the situation in my book, it had to be over an extended period of time before they would give it a name and say, okay, she's not recouping from this. She's not coming back.
Yeah. I see. I see. I see. So how
And in,
now? No, go on.
and in Olivia's case, you're talking about a situation that happened just before she turned 11, and
Mm.
she's actually starting to deal with it. She's 38 years old.
Yes. 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 So how are you going to show her? Trying to deal, trying to show her depression. What was your plan?
She is going to go into counseling, but Olivia has a lot of denial, and her denial is going to get her into a lot of situations she'd rather not deal with. And she's also going to have to deal with death again.
Ah, so in your comic book, you're going to focus on just the denial for this bit. Are you likely to go through the five stages?
She has to. She has to. But it won't be easy for her. And
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to heal the world, in the big picture. But
Yes.
too often when we read stories, fiction, romance, adventure, whatever, it's swept over too quickly. It's like, okay, you were sad yesterday and now you're in love and you've got a great job and you're healed, you're cured.
Yeah.
And I don't care for that mindset because it's not true. And I don't want someone to sit down and read a book like that and think, well, it's fiction, but they'll say, well, if this person got over it this quickly, why aren't I?
Yes.
Because we do take a lot of things out of fiction and juxtapose them to real life.
Yes, yes, we do. And that's why, I was quite, keen to talk to you about your book, because people tend to read nonfiction. Again, not everybody, but I would like to think a lot of people read nonfiction as a
Hmm.
form of escapism. It's like, what, everything's just whatever is going on in their life, they just needed a form or an avenue to just escape, even, no matter how temporary they want to do that. And we all as human beings, we all have our own battles that we're dealing with, we all have our own demons that we're dealing with. And sometimes, when I've read fiction, I take something away from it. Sometimes I find that I've learned something. Yes, it's been fun, yes, it's been entertaining, yes, it's been educative, but it's the education bit that sort of tends to stay with me the longest, because I feel like I've learned something, from it. And so when I saw, your book, talking on this subject matter, it was quite, interesting to me, because quite interested to see what people would take away from it. And one of the good things that I like about it is the way that you've tried to mirror it to reality, so that there's the fun side, there's the entertaining side, but then there's also that this could actually happen in real life.
Hmm.
So that's definitely one of the things that I do like about your book. Though again, I will say it is an intense read.
I don't have a lot of reviews yet, but I am pleased that the reviews I do have keyed in on Olivia's psyche, number one, and
Yes.
they have keyed in on the sense of family in the book,
Yes.
because that's one thing that Olivia didn't have. So
Yes.
they've keyed it on this sense of family and how she's being included in all aspects, not just with the Bellamy's, but with Willis Benton and with Margot Schultz. There's still a sense of family, a familiarity there. Excuse me, familiarity there. Yeah.
I know we all get those days, when our words just can't even come out correctly.
No, and it's not happening today, but I'm trying.
Yes, no, that's fine. Okay, so you're in America. What sort of support? Because I know from previous conversation, you put a lot of research to try and make your book be as realistic as possible. So state-wise, what sort of support do you guys have for people who suffer from depression?
Again, there are organizations and medical practices that do help. My problem in researching this is that they're not readily available.
Right.
There's
Okay.
there's there's always this assessment, and the assessment, you might want to speak to someone today, and if you call a number, you might get an appointment for 2, 3, 4 weeks away. And then on your
Mm,
initial visit, there's an assessment. And then you'll get another appointment. And the time that is invested in just getting you into counseling is just too great. And I'm not saying that happens with everyone, that happens in every situation, but it's been the majority of the time of the instances that I've researched or people that I've talked with, there's been an extended amount of time involved just to get help. And
interesting.
another factor is the cost, because a lot of these things there are in America, you'll find your average healthcare will cover 20 visits per calendar year for mental health.
Right.
But
Okay.
that being said, you also have to have that that medical coverage. If you don't have that medical coverage, then you've got to find another way to pay for it. And it's not always readily available, especially for a child who's in the system or an adult who's working in a position that doesn't offer health care.
Hmm. It's actually interesting that you say that though, because again, when you were talking, the first thing that goes to my mind is, okay, when we're talking about the waiting time, I'm like, okay, is there such a long waiting time because the service is free? Because I used to think that, in America, you guys pay for, your services, your healthcare services via your insurance. See, because the one and only time that I've been to America, I went to Florida, no, well, Palm Beach. Yeah, anyways, I was somewhere that, had a little bit more sunshine than we do in London. And I was taking a stroll, right, past, through your very intimidating roads, right? Like, I was walking through and I was looking at your road and I was like, I would not even attempt to cross, right? And you guys don't even have like proper pedestrian, places that, pedestrian only walk zones or pedestrian lights, it was so far. And the cars, oh my good Lord, the speed, I was looking at it, I was like, I would see, normally in London, you can just look left, you can just look right, and you think, yeah, there's no cars, and you would, attempt to just run across, yeah? That one, the width of our two lanes, one, going in each direction, that's you guys one lane, right? You guys have like, what, three car lanes in one direction, another three car lanes in another direction. See, we don't have that kind of
Yeah.
space. I was thinking and I was like, Yeah, see, but by the time I even reach the middle of the road, I'll be dead already, with the way the cars just goes quickly, right? So it was very intimidating. It was really, because seriously, if you've ever been to London and you see how narrow our roads are, because we think, yes, our roads are narrow and it's cute and it's compact, and you have this sense of, it's just had this warm, fuzzy feeling about, being in London. And then you see this humongous road with extra large cars. And you're like, yes, sir, that's
I've
just.
I've been to London and I wondered how two cars could go down the same street. It is narrow. It is narrow. And I'm like, how does this work?
I know, right? Because that, the two cars, that's probably half of the lane for you guys, right? Whereas
Yes,
ours,
yes. But you
so
guys also don't have the big, humongous vehicles that we have either.
no, we don't. So you can imagine, I've only ever, sort of seen, I'm used to the way things are here, and then I'm going and I'm seeing this humongous, this monstrosity of a road. It was really scary, right? I'm not even ashamed to say that I was afraid. I looked at the road and I was afraid, right? Anyway, so back to what I was talking about. So I was taking a stroll, right? Making sure I was as close to the, you don't even have, it's like, yeah, I don't even know how to describe it, but I was making sure I was as close, as away from the curb as possible. So I then noticed, far away, your nice big signs. It was like a hospital, and then they had a sign,
Mhm,
waiting time for A&E, right? Guess how
mhm.
many minutes?
How many?
5 minutes.
What?
Yeah, I was looking and I was like, oh my God, 5 minutes? You would not even go to your GP practice and be seen in 5 minutes, right? Here, you go to A&E and you'll be lucky to be seen in an hour. The average
You'll
waiting time here is 3 hours.
That is not the norm, and you will find a lot of places advertising shorter wait times. A lot of them you can call ahead of time and register so you can just walk in and be seen. You don't see that a lot, okay? Because when we took my nephew to emergency the weekend after Thanksgiving here, we were in and out in an hour, and we were all in shock because usually it's an hour wait to be seen. But
Oh, wow.
because of the time of day, because he had been seen by paramedics, because of his age and his fever, we were in 5 minutes. And that is very rare for walk-ins.
Interesting. You see, that one experience, I thought that was the norm everywhere. That
No,
you could just go to
no.
A&E and you'd be seen in 5 minutes. And I was like, what? See, maybe that's why, we've got long wait times because, ours is not, we don't pay for it, out of our own pocket or with insurance. And I was like, oh, these blooming Americans, you guys have all these, good things going on
No,
in your
we
lives.
don't. It doesn't matter who's paying for it. You're waiting. I took my mother to emergency once, and she was very sick with pneumonia. She has other chronic illnesses, and she was in a wheelchair. And I sat there with her for 2.5 hours while people who were laughing and talking and having a great time were being called into the back. And I just got disgusted and left, drove to another hospital where she was admitted within 20 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
Okay.
no, it's not the norm here.
Okay. That's nice. Maybe it was just the timing that I was
Yeah,
there. Okay, so no, that's why I was, I was wondering why, getting access to mental care, from what you were saying, was so, was such a long time because I had in my head that, if you need to go to A&E, you can get seen in 5 minutes. Then what's going on with the mental health side of
well, I'm
things?
I'm about to get in trouble, and I hope your viewers don't storm the fort. But getting care in the mental health field is also a crapshoot in my experience because
Hmm.
I have a son. He'll be 27 in a couple of days. But when
Okay.
he was 10 years old, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Okay.
And I cannot even begin to tell you the nightmare that we went through for a year using the community program that was
Mm.
recommended by the school system.
Yeah.
And initially, he was diagnosed with depression, and he was
Mm.
given a medication he should not have been given. And it caused him to crash. And in that year's time, also, he went through 4 different therapists. And I finally exploded and damn near, excuse me, almost had my own breakdown. And
Yeah.
I got him a private psychiatrist. I had to get out of that whole circle of silliness
Yeah.
because he would build up a rapport with a therapist and starting to feel comfortable, and he'd show up for his next appointment and he's been changed to someone else.
Ah.
And it was infuriating. So when I went out of the system and paid out of pocket for our own psychiatrist, everything changed. And the way he was the treatment he was received was changed because everyone was acting like, oh my God, he's bipolar disorder. This is, what he's got to do for a lifetime. And this psychiatrist, God bless him, he said, your son hasn't even gone through puberty yet. He said when he starts going through puberty and his hormones start changing, he can still outgrow this. And you know
Yeah.
what? He did.
Oh, good.
But
Good.
no
Good.
one, no one, no one had ever said that to me in the entire year we were in the other program. So
Yes.
that's one of the downsides too to getting any kind of any kind of assistance in the mental health field.
Mm. Mm. I
You've
see
got to
you.
be an advocate for your own care, and it's hard when you're the person who needs the assistance, but you've got to assess the help you're being given.
Yes. Yes. So I guess in the long run, in any situation, not even, not only if, someone who has been abused or someone who is going through grief in one form or the other, what we all need is that not only maybe if you have a family support, that would be great. But then, we all just need somebody who would be our own advocate, who would say, let's get a second opinion. Let's see what else we can do, because once you're going through something, sometimes you don't necessarily see outside of the box. And so because you're the mom, you're like, what, this doesn't feel right, let's try something else. So, and that's what I
Hmm.
think Alan always used to say, is that we should try to do what is in the best interest of that child. We should try and speak and see what is best. And for the child to even come up and admit anything, they need to start feeling comfortable. And I guess that's why you were getting frustrated, because every time he was getting comfortable with one therapist, they go and change it on him, and so you don't then have that continuity and that safety net, that
Right,
feeling of security.
right.
um well, today I've got to call it go quickly, because I've got to take the little human to the doctors because her temperature is coming back up. And I know at nighttime, that's when, once the medication wears off in her sleep, her temperature is going to be coming up again. So we will continue this lovely conversation to tomorrow. No, not tomorrow, next week. And I'm hoping that we'll have a new guest again. Next week as well, to replace Alan.
I am working on it.
Cool. Well, I'm going to have to love you and leave you, and wish me luck that everything goes well over the doctors.
I do hope she feels better soon. Like I said, I went through that with my 2-year-old nephew, and it's very scary. And you want her to feel better, and you want your mind at ease.
Yes. Yes, yes. All right then, Felicia. Oh, before we go, you can tell people how they can contact you. Anyone who's new.
I have on FeliciaDenise.com. There is a contact page there, and you can also reach me at Felicia Denise, FeliciaDenise at FeliciaD.com, and I'm on Facebook, Felicia Denise.
Perfect. Well, we'll see you again next week.
You guys take care and feel better,
Uh,
little one.
yes. Okay. Bye now.
Bye.